Early in life, he learned that success was not hereditary or something that can be bought. He began with a quest on his part to find something to do with his life that would make a difference. In a sense, the desire to do this came from his spirit or the appetite of his inner self. In another sense, it did not come from him at all. It was inspired by a handful of great leaders, thinkers, and achievers who became his spiritual parents as well as his teachers, coaches, and role models. They touched him with the idea that being human meant having a big dream or a purpose larger than oneself. Once touched with this possibility, his life was altered forever. He could never go back to what most people call a normal existence. He had to find his own way. This led to a long migration that has brought him joy and freedom. It has also brought him suffering and the need to overcome adversity. The route he chose to follow in making his way in the world was transformational coaching, which unleashes the human spirit and assists people to learn powerful lessons in a personal change and to expand their capacity for action. Today, he is presenting Project One from Speeches by Management called The Briefing. The name of the speech is, quote, "It is my choice," unquote. The objectives are to organize your briefing material, tailoring it to the audience needs, give a briefing according to a specific objectives, explain, instruct, persuade, or report, so the audience will have an understanding of the information. Effectively handle a question and answer session following the briefing. So please write down some questions so you could ask them after it in the 3-minute question and answer period. The time, 3 to 5 minutes for the speech and 2 to 3 minutes for questions afterwards. I present Julio Garreaud.
Good morning. What a great setting to be here and speak at the Craig and Maria. Really, this is a fabulous meeting today. And these are the issues that we need to be concerned with instead of living life lightly. The purpose that I have to establish it here is to clarify. My job in life is to break the status quo and provoke people to think. That's the purpose of my speech, provoke you to think. So let me start with the word responsibility. We talk about responsibility as something that it can be handled. Responsibility starts with saying you are a cost in the matter. I repeat, responsibility starts with saying you are a cost on the matter. No one can make you responsible, nor can you impose responsibility on another. We always say, well, it's your responsibility, it's the employee's responsibility, it's the children's responsibility, the parent's responsibility, the government responsibility. It's not such a thing. So I invite you to start thinking and listening carefully. What does it mean when you say they are responsible? If they have no say, I am responsible, they cannot be responsible, or they cannot be accountable to be responsible. It is a grace you give yourself. Responsibility is a grace you give yourself. An empowering context that leaves you with a say in the matter of life. So let's go from there. Today is a voting day. Most of you earned your voting rights because you were born in an American territory, somewhere in the world. I didn't. I was born in a different territory, from different parents. I come from a different planet. So what does it take for me to vote? In order for me to vote, I had to make a choice. I chose to apply for U.S. citizenship. And I went through the process, and I got my citizenship, and then was vested on me by a judge the power to vote. It was vested on me the power to vote. And to me, it's very meaningful. For me, it's very meaningful. Bad officials are elected by good citizens that do not vote. Bad officials are elected by good citizens who do not vote. So just to give you some thinking, I want to give you a few ideas I have here. Voting is a way to speak your mind and let your voice be heard. Your vote is your voice. And today you have the opportunity to speak. One voice, one vote really does count. Do the numbers, do the math. One vote count. Our children are depending on us to represent their voice. When we vote today, we're creating a path for the future of our children and grandchildren. Voting changes communities. If you have good representation, you can gain a lot of things. Vote to affect change. How come we got civil rights today? Through voting. Believe it or not, voting is a way of honoring our history. As a citizens, you have an unwritten commitment to vote. And last but not least, because you vote, and when you vote, give you credibility. No one can make you responsible, nor you can impose responsibility on another. Mr. Toastmaster. Oh, any questions? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. You're watching me, aren't you?
I'm trying.
Boy. So you want to reset the time, Mark?
Yeah, working on it.
Thanks. And I have a question.
What was voting like in Chile?
Voting in Chile is mandatory. You have a card, and you have to carry the card. It's almost like an ID card without a picture, at least at that time when I was there. And if you don't vote, then that can be counted against you in certain things. Like if you're applying for government loans, you're applying for anything that has to do with the government. If you are not participatory, then you can, literally you can go to jail for not voting. But they don't go to the extreme because it will be very difficult to enforce.
Do you think they should do that here?
Pardon me?
Do you think they should do that here?
No, because like I say, I cannot make you responsible. But we need to engage in conversation that say it matters to live in this country. It matters to be a citizen. It matters to create our own future.
How do you get the message out that people need to be responsible and accountable for their actions? I think that's kind of where you're going. Is
Yeah, I don't think people needs to be responsible because that's a choice. I don't need to have fluoride and the gum. Xylitol. I don't need to deprive myself from sugar. But it would be very good, wouldn't it? So that's the idea. We need to demonstrate, we need to speak loud. We don't speak about voting. We don't speak about politics. In the United States, 2 political parties. In Chile are 25 political parties. You cannot be elected with one political party. That's the difference. Yes?
Well, I was just wondering, I know that there's different time frames for different countries, people from different countries to become a citizen. How long did it take you to go through that process?
Well, it took me 3 years. I went to combat and everything. No, I don't know what the law is today. You need to take some classes, you need to learn English, you need to do a lot of stuff today. It's very complicated to become a citizen. It doesn't matter what country you come from. If you're an alien, an immigrant here, you have to have a process that the government has. For me, I just applied, I went to the court, The judge told me what time is today, and I look at the clock and I say it's 3 p.m. or 3:10, and asked me some serious questions, but it wasn't as complicated as it is today. Yes.
Where does your responsibility end and another's begin?
Say it again.
Where does your responsibility end and another's begin?
My responsibility ends at the tip of your nose. And then from then on, it's your responsibility. I should not go beyond there. I think it's a secret space that we have. And when I go beyond that space, then I'm going over who you are. And I don't think so I can be responsible there. I cannot force you to do something. I mean, we can do it with children under age 18, because as parents we can do that, but that's my answer. Yes?
How about when we talk about everyone's voting responsibility and that point that you made that we have to accept who is in office? If you don't like it, it's because maybe you didn't flex your right to vote. But when you say that, I'm often go back to what's happened in Chicago, Illinois, and then also in Washington, D.C., which in the really, really poor candidates that they've chosen. And it's because people get out and vote, and those that think that this is a terrible mistake have not. But there's when you look at how flawed that is in people's decision-making, I just think it's interesting. We've got a section that's going out to vote and others that are not.
Well, you did the leadership program here in Park City.
Mm-hmm.
And something that we encourage in the leadership program is participation. We are not involved with our cities. We just live and we don't care. People don't go to the meetings at the city once a month or twice a month. We don't get involved in the issues and the concern that we have and how to get involved. And I learned that other people in Park City, most of the people that are elected by vote, they have been have graduated from the leadership program. And you really learn there, and I really learned this year, that was the most powerful thing I got, that I need to get involved. I go to the city where I live, I go to these meetings, I get involved. Once people knows me, I stand up and I speak, then maybe people say, well, this guy maybe should run for something. And if I have the courage to do that, then I need to step forward. But everybody's sitting back and we're all waiting for somebody else to do it for us. Okay? So if you have additional questions, please address me at coffee, and I'll be glad to engage in that part of the conversation. Thank you.
All righty, let's